What is financial stress? My simple definition is the feeling of not being in control of your expenses versus your income, and the feeling that you are not going to meet your current or immediate future goals. Let's start with a simple question. What is the age group when maximum number of people have extreme financial stress? Pick your option, note it down in your mind for now, and let's see if it is true for you and in general over the course of this video. Let me share a golden rule that I finally learned after running behind money and financial retirement for more than 2 decades. Never have two major expense heads under EMI run in parallel. They will kill your appetite for investments. Also, the best age to enjoy life is approximately between the age of 35 and 50, for the simple reason that both you and your spouse will have your parents around you, your kids will still be living with you, and you will have a decent purchasing power. To understand better what is financial stress and what leads to financial stress, I've created a simple model in Excel. The model talks about few expense heads. This video assumes a life of an engineer who has graduated and joined workforce at the age of 22. There are certain life events which we have added in the Excel here, like getting married at 28, the first child at 30, second child at 33. Then over the course of time, your kids will go to college, the kids will get married, and eventually you will also retire at the age of 60. For simplicity, the model divides our typical life into five key phases. The first one being pre marriage. The second is family way, where you get married, you have kids. The third one is the most significant one, which is most of your life. You have got married, you have kids, you live a good life, and then you eventually aim for retirement. Your kids go to college, and eventually they get married around that time. After that is the period of loneliness, where you have just retired or about to retire, your parents have probably left the world, your kids have started to live alone or their own life. And then finally, countdown or the time when you spend most time with yourself and you eventually wait for your last day. Let's now understand the model. The row 3 contains your life events like your marriage, kids getting born, anniversaries, marriage of your kids, and so on. The column B, this contains the expense heads we talked about earlier. Let's go briefly through all categories. Household expenses, initial part when you just start your career before marriage is born, usually by your parents. After marriage, you start contributing and then you start taking charge eventually. Household expenses are typically corresponding to your affordability, and 3 means you are in control, but on the higher side. 1 means you are absolutely in control. If you talk about EMI, most people these days tend to buy a home as soon as they get married. So in the initial part, the EMI will be killing, like it will be very high compared to your salary. So that's why it is shown in 5. And then it becomes more affordable. Though the amount will remain same, it will become more affordable. Typically after 8 to 10 years, the aspiration part comes in and you buy or upgrade your house. You may retain the previous one or you may sell it off. But again, a bigger house EMI starts. So again, 5, 3 leading to a 1 again. Car, you start with a basic one, then you upgrade your car. Then typically around 40s is when most people buy an expensive car where the EMI is high. That's why it's shown in 5. Then over time, the aspiration for a larger, bigger car goes down. You might want a mid-sized car which is easy to maintain, easy to drive, and so on. Kids getting born, the education, the first 4 years is not very expensive. After that, the school education starts. Last 6 years are college. College education is no longer carrying government subsidy these days. So unless you are planning for a Delhi University kind of college, the college fees could be high. That's why it's shown in 5. And the final 5 is the marriage. Be it a girl or a boy, the marriages are expensive in most of India, and that's why it's shown in 5. Then if you look at the parents part, unless your parents have planned their retirement well, the model assumes that your parents will have some dependency on you. So one initial load dependency is low, then it increases, and then it becomes high for your income levels. You will have to spend significant part of your income on your parents. Your own medical expenses, initially low, then they go up. And around retirement, around 60s, your expenses also start going up, just like your parents' expenses did here. Vacation, typically in the initial part, you'll go out with your friends. Then just after marriage, the aspirations for vacations, expensive ones, international ones are pretty high. First 2 years, it's shown as 5. After that, once your kids are born, the initial years vacations become very sparse, and then smaller vacations. Eventually, once your kids are slightly bigger, you go again for the bigger vacations. Aspirational expenses, as soon as you start working, you have a lot of aspirations, buying expensive phones, bikes, tablets, laptops, stuff for your parents, and so on. Then it goes down a bit. After marriage, aspirations are pretty high. And then three is basically aspirations still there, but they are more affordable. And then basically based upon events like your anniversary, 25th anniversary, marriage of your kids, grandkids getting born, and so on, there may be aspirational expenses in certain years. And once your kids fly off the nest, then the aspirations become very normal. It's now time to introduce the financial stress meter. This is the measurement of financial stress in life. There are two elements to it. One is at annual level, which is a measure of these one, threes, and fives, the average of that to keep it simple. And then cumulative at about 5 year level on basically how it is accumulated for those 5 years. So in the initial part, though salary may be low, but expenses are also low. These two categories are five are high, that is initial. Besides that, overall things are in control. Home EMI starts here. So if you see the stress in the year 22 to 25 is 4. It is the least in life, though we might have lowest income also in your life. After that, that is the time when you are getting married. Planning for it, you have bought a home, you have started with a car loan. So that is where the stress goes up. So the number becomes 17, 15, and so on. The vacation part kicks in, the aspirational expenses kick in post marriage. The home EMI is still there now, it is still very high. So all those things take the score to nearly double of what they were pre marriage. So the score in 26 to 30 year bracket is 12. After that, it goes up further as the kids are born and they go to school. Somewhere around this zone is when you have nearly every category of expense getting incurred. And if you see, the risk score becomes 22 here, which is the 36 to 40 years band. After that is when the stress meter turns red. This is where you have bought a car which is expensive, your home loan is still running, your kids' education is running for both kids, your parents have their lives have become a little more demanding in terms of especially medical expenses. Your own medical expenses have started to coming in, and that is the time aspirationally you might want to have the best vacations in life as well because your kids are still with you. Aspirational expenses continue, they never end till you retire. Now, based upon this, the stress meter says that between 36 and 40 and 41 to 50, the score nearly just jumps by 50%, and then it remains consistent for 15 years. If your car loan finishes, then the expenses on healthcare increase considerably. If vacation expenses go down, then college expenses start. Some expensive categories replacing some inexpensive category of yesteryears. And this continues till you turn 55 approximately. That is where your kids get married and they settle and start affording their own life. That is where the expenses start going down a bit. And once both kids are married, this particular part is when you see that expenses drop. Your household expenses will definitely go down because two kids have moved out. The parent expenses will go on. This is the sad point where you lose parents, the age of around 60. Medical expenses for you will keep on increasing now for life. Vacation expenses again here and there, but more or less they will be very low. This is the age when the zeal to go out reduces significantly. And we'll talk about it a little more. Aspirational expenses are beyond a point, they will basically be under control. You might replace things, but you'll have everything you desire. And that is where the stress meter says that your stress goes down significantly if you have accumulated decent reserves. How to be in control using this model? There are a few observations. The fifth one will be the most critical one. The first one, when you just start your career, when the expenses are in control, that is the best time to plant the seeds for the future. This is the time when parents should ideally give a head start to the kids, open a demat account, give them the liberty to invest into equity, raise awareness levels. Don't waste your kids' money by getting them into policies, PPF, additional PFs. A lot of parents do it to save money and say that, okay, kids will not waste it then. And maybe give them additional money, like just to get them started and give them a head start. This is the best time for investing in equity for long term. Aspirations are really high for both partners just after marriage. Buying phones, cars, all these expenses come in, gifting. So these come in after marriage. Have you observed so many times you might have seen that a person has a car, but they get another car as a gift and then they have to sell off the previous one. Or they already had a phone, but they were gifted, say, an iPhone or a high-end Samsung phone, an upgrade which was probably not required, leading to certain level of wastages. Postpone some of these buys for the marriage part, maybe 1 year, 2 years again into the marriage. That is where you will love spending the money with your spouse. So things like home, furniture, costly appliances, cars, going to exotic places for vacation, best preserved for the time just after your marriage. In fact, create some investments in early days to grow, budget out few lakh rupees every year for the initial 3, 4, 5 years to fund these expenses so that they don't come out of your salary. Somewhere around your mid 40s, you will hit your first maturity of PPF, and that is an income which most people utilize to fund a expensive car or prepay a part of their home loan. And most people start another PPF as soon as the first one has matured. Pre 40, your risk appetite is the highest. After that, once you reach the red zone, it will go down significantly and keeps reducing. In this period, why are we not going for 15% compounded annual growth rate CAGR kind of instruments? Even a mutual fund or a index fund, which typically lead to a 15-16% kind of gain over sustained 10, 15, 20 years. Think of compounding. Think of 15% compounding for 20 years versus 8% simple interest over those 20 years. Also, if you are now aware that you will hit the red zones for about 15 years once you start getting into your 40s, maybe consider creating sources of passive income. Passive income could be of any format. It could be dividend yielding equity, it could be rental income from, say, real estate, bonds. Multiple things can lead to passive income. In fact, this passive income will really be handy in that red zone of 15 years because you'll have an additional stream of income getting added to your income and possibly your spouse's income, which can really, really help you manage your risks better and financial stress better. This is the area where most people go wrong. In the red zone, rather than have a secondary income stream, they actually keep on pulling max money out of their income and adding into retirement funds for the time when they will retire at the age of 60, or possibly accumulating money for their kids' college or their marriages. Somewhere around your 25th anniversary, your kids will start getting married. Marriages are the biggest wealth destroyer for a parent. Don't get me wrong here. A lot of parents save money for years, maybe half a decade, 1 decade, just to see their kids getting happily married. And it's a lot of it is rituals, a lot of it is customs, a lot of it is societal pressure, aspirations. Eventually, if you see, 50% of a marriage expenses just event management for 1 day or 2 day, and that is money gone after those events are over. Even the gifts bought during marriages, most of them are liabilities or upgrades which may or may not be required, like cars, gadgets, heavy appliances. Hopefully over time a cultural change will come in once people will realize this. Mainly bride and groom, they have to realize that this is their parents' money, better used probably to kickstart their investment journey. Do spend it, it's meant for you, but not to be spent on marriage halls, bands, event managers, food. All those things will not help you financially at all. If you have a lot of money to burn, yes, do whatever you want as long as it gives you happiness. 55 plus approximately is the age where your kids have got married and they have flown away from the nest. Your parents would have probably met their destiny or somewhere around that age. Your own health may not allow indulgences that you wanted to in the initial years or 10, 15 years back. After enjoying life with your kids for nearly 2, 3 decades, it is very difficult to even go on a vacation and not have them around. It does not sound that enjoyable. Before planning milestones, please understand what will be the use of money at that stage. What will you do with the money at 55, 60, 65 once your retirement instruments in cash, once your provident fund comes in your hand? Besides medical expenses, what will you do? Most of us, towards the end of our life, actually spend the money on our kids and grandkids, or many of us actually take it to our grave, which 80-90% of wealth usually goes to the survivors. So, what was the point when you spent the peak prime years of your life running for money, trying to earn as much as possible, so that you could retire with a lot of money when you turn 60. Conclusion: three of the most prominent ailments in India: diabetes, hypertension, cancer. The occurrences of these are getting early and early in life, and they are now somewhere between 40 and 45, where they are hitting Indians most. This trend is alarming, and somewhere it has to be related to the extreme amount of stress all of us carry, especially financial stress. A lot of financial stress, if you saw this video, is because we are not able to visualize the impact of multiple large EMIs, loans on the balance sheet of our life, and we are not able to handle these pressures well. A lot of these are created, for example, larger cars, larger homes. Most of us buy it just around the time when our kids will go to college, and after that, they will start leading their own life, buy their own homes, or live in rental apartments. We won't be able to utilize those larger homes and cars at all, but we buy them under societal pressure, peer pressure. Somewhere we want to conform to the society, but again, things are not same for all of us. A lot of people have made good money early in their life, maybe because they have a higher pay than us, maybe they got into a startup and they got a good exit when the company was sold. We are not playing the same game, so there is no point in comparing, and in this comparison joining the race which we effectively can't run. Don't kill yourself. Manage your financial pressures well, reduce your financial stress, live a great life. Thank you.